half Viking, half god, sorta dead. You're listening to Ranking Rick Riordan, a podcast about Percy Jackson and the whole wide rest of the Riordanverse. I'm Dan.
I'm Olga.
And I'm Clara, and today we're back to discussing Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, the Sword of Summer.
Yes, and so we left off after our favorite Magnus got stabbed in the throat or something, and then he woke up from some dreams.
So Magnus wakes up in his room at the Hotel Valhalla, and Gunilla comes to give him a tour.
I want to pause, because I didn't write this down, but this happens here. So he wakes up all okay, and he sees his body for the first time. And I thought that was another big highlight for him in this. And also the way it connected with his like homelessness and stuff, and feeling like he has no control over anything and that everybody's forcing things on him. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was it. Definitely was one of those like whoa moments reading that. So Gunilla threatens Magnus, telling him she'll go after him if he betrays her. Back in his room, Blitz and Hearth fall through the tree canopy ceiling. So this kind of in combination with the bridge battle, it really does make like Blitz and Hearth seem incompetent, and it's just like, but that's not who they are, and that's not who they like. They find themselves like, they have struggles, but like them being like this goofy felt a little like disappointing.
I think the line between these are the comedic sidekicks and these are actually important characters, that he kind of wavered back and forth between it in this book. I'm wondering
if things from like the first draft didn't fully get excised or revised. So Magnus learns that Blitz is Blitzen, a Svartalf dwarf, and Hearth is Hearthstone, an elf. Their break-in is triggered alarms, but Magnus's hallmates help the trio escape to Fenway Park.
I gotta say,
I have to say, a little disappointed that they're like Fenway Park is just like hanging out inside the Green Monster for like a little bit.
It felt like a weird throwaway of a major place. I don't know why he wouldn't have just saved that for a later time. I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to do more at Fenway Park.
I mean,
he's not into baseball. He's un-American.
Oh, that escalated so quick. You can really tell we're from Boston, because we're like, are you even American if you don't like the Sox, Rick?
I work down the street from Fenway. Like, I've experienced that traffic firsthand. You gotta love it. You love it in your heart.
I don't know. He made Loki the Red Sox fan.
What
were you gonna say, Clara?
I just that's a good thing to point out, Dan. So really, who's the villain here? Really, Olga.
So they travel to a funeral home in hopes of retrieving the sword from Magnus's dead body.
This is another example of weird, violent, way more intense than some of his other books.
Being confronted with your own corpse.
I thought it was great.
And also, it was so good.
Another thing that I really do like about Magnus that sort of separates him from Percy in some ways is the like, if this is kind of where we get more of the atheism and the like, we talked about what we wanted to happen to our bodies when we died, and again, I don't have control over this. And I thought that was great.
It was so sad. Again, it's so difficult trying to hit the tone of this book. It is many things. But Magnus runs into Annabeth and tells her someone is after him, but he promises to tell her more sometime. And this is where she's like, I know somewhere safe. Like, she has her suspicions, and it's kind of just like a nice reunion between the two of them. So Magnus finds Hearth knocked out after an ambush by Sam. Sam is looking for the sword so she can be a Valkyrie again. Magnus convinces the others to let Sam come with them. They go to meet Mimir, Hearth and Blitz's boss. He's a disembodied head. Mimir explains that Surt wants to free the Fenris wolf and start Ragnarok in 9 days. I like the little like esplanade location and throwing him in the Charles. Very nice.
Oh, this is fun. And I like the so I think another major theme of this book that I would say probably starts here is the idea of not taking shortcuts, and the fact that they go, oh, we're not going to drink from his waters to, just get the answers we want. We're going to do it the hard way because it's not worth anything if you do it the easy way.
Mhm.
And I think
And you're sacrificing something important if you do take a shortcut.
Yeah. And that definitely comes back with Sam at the end with Odin and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the group goes to a food court and they meet Mimir, Sam's betrothed. When they sit down to eat, a pigeon tricks Magnus and takes him on a high-flying adventure. The pigeon tells Magnus how he can get Summerbrander back from the sea goddess Ran, and he wants Idun's apple of immortality in return.
All right, let's pause there.
Yes.
First, let's talk about Amir and the whole like betrothed thing. I just wondered, does anybody have any thoughts about the relationships in this book or where things might go or anything?
I know that there are people. This is literally the only thing I knew about Magnus Chase. Well, no, I knew Annabeth was related to Magnus, which was not a huge spoiler, and I knew that Sam was Muslim and had an arranged marriage set up, and people were like really thought that was insulting choice by Rick, or like not something good that he did.
Okay.
I had seen that. So I don't know why he did it, I guess, is my question.
Oh, I mean, I think he did it because he was trying to do something good. That he had felt that arranged marriages had gotten a bad rap, and that just because it's arranged doesn't mean that the kid always doesn't want it.
Right.
And I think that's fair.
I feel caught in that like catch-22 of like, what, this isn't, again, where it's like, this is culturally important and she's like a willing participant and more than willing, like she's looking forward to this. So it's like, on the one hand, I could see it might be trying to like dispel like myths of the otherness of it. And like, it's in Boston, it's in a modern city. She's a modern woman. Like she still has goals and aspirations, and she's not planning on, like, she would not give any of that up, even while she wants this like for herself. At the same time, I could see how this like does the opposite of that and like feeds into like
all Muslims have arranged marriages.
Like stereotypes and like just like, you know, not expanding the world of like what a Muslim woman could look like as well.
I think it's worthwhile to say just because this idea is different doesn't mean it's always wrong. And I think that's what he was going for. And I'd like to hear other people's explanations, but I feel like he handled it well.
I think it's one of these things again that comes back to this. It's like a theme of the podcast of like when representation is so limited, like every tiny thing matters a lot. And so my opinion apropos of like no personal experience here is this seems like he was trying to do something good and thoughtful. He usually is. But I don't know. I can't really tell to what extent he missed the mark or he was being. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
The other question is he could very well have missed the mark with some people and then not have missed the mark with other people. And exactly. That like group, you know. Yeah.
Oh, right. I can't tell whether this is a situation of like I don't like the decision that Rick made versus, and I'm speaking in a sort of like an I that could not just be me, but or is it something that's more like, oh no, Rick, like this is really problematic. I don't know. It doesn't seem super clear cut to me, but I can also imagine people feeling, as Olga said, like, you know, this is othering. This is such a like she wears a hijab, like she we have a character in a book by Rick Riordan who wears a hijab and she's in an arranged marriage. Like for some people might just be like, why did you have to do that, Rick? You know, but I don't know.
It's a very like, I think it's a very personal thing, but I mean, no group of readers is a monolith, but like for YA and like middle grade, there aren't a lot of like the intersection between like fantasy and like Islam is not that prevalent in like the West, in the United States, and like in English reading like books. So it's just one of those things of like, oh, maybe with the representation, like we get a character and it's still like maybe too old, like too conservative for character, like for readers to relate to this character in that way.
Well, and it's just, again, they're not a monolith. Like, I'm sure there would be some people that if she wasn't wearing a hijab would have a huge issue with that. So, like, it's...
Well, she even takes it on and off.
They explain that better in the second book. She only takes it off in Valhalla because that's her second home.
Okay.
And you can take it off at home.
Yes, you can take it off. Okay. Yeah. I didn't put that together. I didn't realize that that's where she was taking it off. Okay.
Yeah. So again, a lot of this stuff, I think he fleshes out a lot more in the second book, but also her marriage is a core issue of the second book. So we'll certainly be talking about this more. And
yeah.
But I think it's worth noting also that Magnus is very pro her marriage once he knows that she wants that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I definitely in the first 2/3 of reading this, I was like, oh, this is Annabeth and Percy again. And I don't know that that's actually where they're going with it, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a different interaction between them, from what we'd expect of like the two main leads.
Yep.
So Sam and Magnus go on a deep sea excursion with the frost giant Harald. They cast a giant bull's head as bait and hook the world serpent. Ran arrives because the world serpent's shaking is affecting the earth and her ability to collect glorious stuff. Magnus bargains with Ran for the items using his street smarts, but she swears that he's made an enemy of her. He goes to the Boston Public Library and brings the apple to the pigeon, who reveals himself to be the giant Utgard Loki. No relation.
So the Rand stuff is very classic Rick.
Yeah.
Not necessarily my favorite, but nothing bad.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I didn't even actually talk about the actual Utgard Loki stuff, though. I really liked the, like, him as an eagle bringing him through Boston. That was a highlight for me.
Yeah. Super cinematic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, that is very violent, too.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's
You're
like,
right.
It's Magnus being like, if I wasn't in Harry, I would be torn up right now and dead for real. It's like, oh God, this is horrible. I don't like heights. So the group must go to Nidavellir, Blitzen's world of the dwarves, to learn more about Gleipnir, the rope that restrains the Fenris wolf.
Mm-hmm.
At the Make Way for Ducklings statue portal, they're attacked by Gunilla and the Valkyries, who think Magnus is trying to bring Ragnarok. They make it onto the world tree, but the squirrel Ratatosk attacks. The group splits up, and while Hearth and Sam hide under the camo hijab, Magnus and Blitz end up in Folkvanger, the Vanir equivalent of Valhalla.
So that's also an interesting point, that they actually made the hijab like a useful item beyond just being a hijab.
Yeah. It has little like, echoes of Rhaena's Praetor cloak kind of thing.
That Frank stole.
Yeah. We don't talk about that. Anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, this was cool, but also like this sequence was a lot at once again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're hitting.
Yep.
So Folkvanger is overseen by Freya, who is Blitz's mom.
Didn't see that coming.
Definitely not. Well, she's not patronizing like at all. Awesome mom. Totally nice woman. She advises Magnus to befriend Summerbrander. She tells them how to get to the Fenris Wolf's island and that they'll need to commission a new rope to bind the wolf. She also wants new earrings, like super important.
I really liked this scene.
I did too.
Fun.
I liked Magnus being like, the only thing I can look at is her eyebrow. She's Blitzen's mom.
He's 16. It's a beautiful lady in front of him.
I liked that it didn't seem like that's where he, like, even though that's like where he belonged, he didn't belong there.
Yeah. Even though he's not the fighting type, it's still like, this place is a little too laid back. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that too.
Just, I don't know, just fun stuff.
Yeah. So Blitz and Magnus go to a bar where they meet Junior, an elderly master craftsman dwarf who hates Blitzen for his father's perceived insults over Gleipnir. Blitzen's dad, Billy, died when he went to check on Fenris Wolf. I really like everything that is happening in this, like, what's the name of this world?
Nidavellir.
Nidavellir.
Yep.
I love the bar sequence. I love how like crafting is so important that they give like titles to all their mugs and chairs. Yep. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's just
this is very imaginative. I think this is a really good high point too.
Yeah, it's
really
like a different level of dwarfs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Junior refuses to make a new rope unless Blitz beats him at a craftsmanship duel. Blitz has no choice but to agree, but he's terrible at crafting. He'd much rather design clothes. Hearth and
Wait, can we pause there?
Yes.
I'm torn because on the one hand, I really feel like Blitz and Hearth should actually be in a relationship. On the other hand, if they're not, Blitz being really into fashion is a lot more interesting. Because then it's just straight male loves fashion.
Well, not necessarily straight just because he's not with Hearth.
You know,
right.
Yeah, you know what I mean,
but I know what I'm just being.
I'm like, if it's about like, oh, it's just a gender thing of guys can be really into clothes too.
Yeah.
That I think is really cool. If it's like he's gay, so of course he loves clothes, that's not as great.
I assumed it was the former, but I guess I don't.
We don't know.
We don't
know yet.
That.
Yeah.
I will. Can I a spoiler on my ship list because is Hearth and Blitz.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's the thing. I do want them. Yeah.
I want them together for sure, but so far they're only in my non-canon ships list, which is very long.
It would feel honestly kind of weird to me at this point if they don't get together, given how much Rick like is pushing LGBTQ like representation, because I don't know, like they just are so close. Like, and they touch each other a lot. And,
I guess I didn't notice that. Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of like, the thing is, I realized I said the former, but I meant the latter. I did think that this was Blitz being like overall not queer coded by him liking fashion. I don't know. It's just like, he likes clothes.
I mean, it could go either way.
It really could, yeah. And it's not a bad thing. It's not like, again, like stereotypes are only hurtful. If they like are used against people, but like if you like a thing that a group is stereotyped for liking, like go ahead and like it. It doesn't matter. Like who cares?
Yeah,
just
but
do what you...
Blitz isn't a human being. Right. He's a character written by a straight man.
That's true.
So
there you go. Yeah. I just mean to say, like, I don't want to come off as like shaming. You know, someone who like is a gay man who likes that.
I'm more saying that if he is meant to be straight, this is like progressive. If he's not meant it to be straight, then this is just kind of by the numbers. Although, I still think it's, you go.
Yeah, I will say that, like, literally the thought that he might not be straight didn't cross my mind until we were recording, and I have pulled up on another tabs my list of ships, and I added them together because I didn't even think of it, like, in the realm of possibility. So even if he's into fashion, I don't feel like he's a sort of like a walking stereotypical.
He's not, like, overly flamboyant.
Or,
And also, even the fact that the fashion is like armor and stuff is like imbuing it with more than just the stereotype, I guess.
Yeah.
It's no matter. The point is, I'd like him.
Yes. This is all like, I feel so bad for him, but I like him, and at the same time, it's like you have the trauma backstory of like dead parent. Yeah. Oh, I'm so broken, and then you have the comedy of like, oh, but now I'm in a craftsmanship duel. Expando duck. Yeah.
Is it?
I really like the duel.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Is it terrible for me that like I feel like Trials of Apollo kind of broke me in terms of trauma, where I'm just like, yeah, but did you have it Meg bad? I'm just like,
well, think about that next book.
Oh God, no.
I like the fact that didn't Blitz give Hearth his like signature candy stripe scarf too? Like, that's cute. That's nice.
I'm very upset because in the next book he's not wearing that scarf. He's wearing a different scarf.
No,
and it bothers me.
That's important.
Yeah, he's wearing a polka dot scarf next time.
Well,
I mean that's cool, but I want his candy stripe scarf.
I only if Blitz also was like stripes are out, polka dots are. Can I just say, all this stuff is like there were fashion magazines at Blitz's house, and Blitz was like, no dwarves care about fashion. I'm like, so who's making the fashion magazines?
Ooh.
I was a little confused by that, but maybe
They're
they
just
were
from
human.
Midgard.
Yeah, maybe they were.
I really like that Blitz is very competent in specific ways, and he has these fears that get in his way. He, again, is a flawed character that overcomes. I think that he's a definitely good.
Yeah. So Hearth and Sam arrive, and the duel begins, and Sam disappears all of a sudden. What a coincidence. A bug starts bothering Junior. So the Expando deck was so funny. He just makes mallards when he gets stressed out. Like, what a weird character trait. And I appreciate that Magnus is the one who was kind of like coaching Blitz into making it. Because again, it's like Magnus is smart. He's clever. He's not just like... I want to save people by like physically saving them.
Yeah, that's another important distinction from Percy, is that he likes reading, and he, was like doing very well in his classes and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting. So Magnus starts to talk to his sword at this point, and they form a bond. Blitz wins the duel, so Junior gives him a new rope and earrings for Freya. Junior realizes that Sam was sabotaging him by shapeshifting into Horsefly, so he sends his forces after them. The sword comes out of his shell and names himself Jack. He floats and fights for the group, fending off the attack. Jack attack. Blitz.
This book is good, guys. You guys are a bunch of negative.
You know what? No, it is.
This is my favorite part. So this is the thing where I was surprised you guys love the epilogue. I love the craftsmanship duel. I love all of this. This is like my favorite part.
This is a really good book. I'm just comparing it to freaking Tower of Nero, and it's just very different.
Yeah.
But you can't. You should compare it exclusively to Kane Chronicles.
That's also very difficult because of how much I love Carter and Sadie and Amos and Desjardins.
Yes, that's fair. So Blitz has been summoned by Freya.
Actually, I was just gonna say, Amos is also very into fashion.
Huh? You're right. He is. Let me scroll over to my other tab.
Nothing wrong with a well-dressed man, Daniel. So Blitz has been summoned away, so Magnus, Sam, and Hearth jump into a chasm that takes them to Jotunheim. Magnus receives a vision of Loki aboard a ship of nails. Loki,
literally.
So gross.
Yeah.
Loki tries to convince him to give up on the quest to rebind the wolf and defeat Surt and just let things happen. He bitterly tells Magnus why the other gods have imprisoned him and with what, and tells Magnus that there is no good and evil. So does he really want to fight on behalf of the Aesir at Ragnarok?
I really like Loki.
Yeah.
And every incarnation of Loki, I love Loki.
Yeah, he's like mean but broken. Again, it's fun. Yeah. The darkness, it's where Rick does his best writing. Magnus wakes up to Otis, a morose goat.
Another sad person.
Oh my god! But this was fun. This is like Rick making fun of it.
Yeah.
A goat who takes him to his master Thor. Thor is trapped in a river, being nearly drowned by a giantess. Jack flies up her nose and kills her, rescuing Thor. Thor treats them to a feast of his goats. They learn that he's a TV addict and his hammer Mjolnir is not officially missing. In exchange for finding it, Thor promises to tell them the location of the island holding Fenris Wolf.
All right. Thoughts on Thor? Thoughts on Jack? Because we actually haven't talked about that yet.
I like Jack. He's fun. Thor is, probably more historically accurate. I am folklore accurate than... And I like how Magnus comments on that.
Yeah. I like that stuff. I think the way they talk about the hammer is missing but not missing, I think all that humor worked pretty well. I liked the goats. I think Jack is likable. The one issue I have with Jack is that I feel like it takes away from a lot of the action that he does things without Magnus. I think that there was just so much of this book where Magnus wasn't really doing that much.
He was glowing like Will.
Exactly. So I mean, I just felt like the fact that Jack kills 3 giants in a row was just kind of meh to me, but I do like Jack.
I think it's more meh that he was set up to kill 3 giants in a row.
Yeah. That's fair too. No.
I as we're going through this, this book might have the best overall collection of set pieces.
Yeah. And definitely better than Red Pyramid.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't every single one of these are really great.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that we're going back and forth between like one central location in the real world in Midgard and these like fantastical locations. And you can make your comparisons like, oh yeah, Nidavellir is like Southie. It's like, okay, so I can like picture that, but at the same time it's different enough that like we know it's not just like one central location. Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
So Hearth summons an 8-legged horse and they fly to the castle of the giants where they think Thor's hammer is being kept. They see a caged swan and realize it's Gunilla in disguise. They invoke guest rights and manage to kill 2 other giantesses to rescue Gunilla.
Oh, I like the guest rights thing. I forgot about that. That was fun.
Really fun.
It's like, again, they're clever. It's got a nice balance of that. The giant Garrod,
I think it is.
Yeah, who cares? He dies.
He dies.
He comes home and Magnus tricks him into demolishing his castle on top of himself. They rescue Gunilla and Sam sends her back to Valhalla via armband.
That was fun.
Yes. The weapon they found is Thor's staff. Thor accepts it and sends the quartet where they need to go. Magnus appears alone on Bunker Hill and meets the goddess Hel, ruler of Helheim. She promises Magnus that he can be reunited with his mother if he gives up now. Magnus refuses, angering her.
I thought this is this is a good book because this is another one of my favorite scenes.
I like the history of it like we're standing on a famous defeat in the Revolutionary War, so like don't ally yourself with the losers.
But and also just him really being mature enough to like, again, it's very similar to like the lesson of Lightning Thief, but done in a much more, I would say, relatable and mature way of him being like, well, what would she want?
Yes.
And especially in an organic way, too, because he was looking at his own body just 2 days ago and was thinking, this isn't what I want. I knew she wanted this. It would be for me. It would be selfish. And I think that was a great little arc for him.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's his heroic journey because the whole thing is that when he's in the Hotel Valhalla, he's like, my mom could be here. I could find her. I should be finding her because like our time together was cut short. And instead he chooses the opposite of it.
I will say that having this moment at this point in the book kind of leaves you with like a weird thing where like Magnus is only motivated to get to Fenris Wolf at this point by the fact that he's like a hero.
Exactly.
And I think that kind of is not as interesting as other things could be. Like, it's just like, oh, well, of course he's going to go there because he's a good dude.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing of him not really having like a flaw. Like the closest thing you could say of him being flawed is he's like, he would go looking for his mom's soul and like, he shouldn't do that. But it's like, but of course he would.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a real flaw. But he still has his journey and it's about the choice. And then, he chooses to go on this dangerous mission for Fenris Wolf. But the only reason he does that is because he's a good person.
I think if he just reframed it slightly and made it a little bit more about I want revenge, it would have worked better. Because I do think that if you look at the fact that, like, he starts off the fight with the wolf being like, I want to kill the wolf even though I can't kill the wolf. And if you had made that about he wanted revenge and only was able to overcome once he let go of revenge, I think that's like in there, but it's under a lot of dirt. Like it's
So Magnus wakes up next to Sam at her old school. She tells him about how she was bullied there, but she still rescued her classmates from a frost giant. Afterwards, Odin appeared to her and chose her to be a Valkyrie. She says Odin was the one who instructed her to save Magnus after his death fighting Surt. They agree, they make a good team. Yeah, I really like their back and forth. I like their relationship. I like the fact that it is very, like, I don't feel like a romantic tension between them, and I can just, like, enjoy a male-female friendship.
Yep.
So once on the island, our quartet meet the Fenris Wolf. Fenris admits that he had wolves come to kill Magnus's mother, knowing that the hardships that followed would make Magnus strong enough to retrieve Jack, enraging Magnus.
I really like Fenris.
Yeah.
He was a really good
He was
villain.
like malevolent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now we can have a big bad who we don't like as much as Fenris for the rest of the series.
Don't say that.
A giant snake, perhaps.
We've already met the giant
the world
snake.
serpent.
He's
And
fine.
I bet they'll come back. Book
Oh,
3.
you're probably right. Oh no. Listen, humanity hates snakes. Can you blame humanity? I can't blame Rick. Humans throughout history and culture have been like snakes, no go. Bad sign, bad guy. Since Jack is prophesized to cut the bonds of the Fenris wolf, he keeps trying to go towards the wolf, but Magnus holds him back. The group decides they will try to kill the wolf. Gunilla, a few other Valkyries, and Magnus's hallmates arrive to stop the group from freeing the wolf. Instead of arresting Magnus, the hallmates join him in the fight. Certain other fire giants arrive. The Valkyries attack the fire giants. Hearth uses magic to deter Fenris, and Magnus gets Jack to tie a new rope around Fenris to contain him, so manipulating the prophecy there.
Yep.
A golden light surrounds Magnus to bring back summer. After Fenris is successfully retied, the fighting focuses back on Surt. They're too late, and he kills Gunilla and the other Valkyries. Magnus is able to banish Surt, and they escape.
All right, let's pause there.
Yeah.
I do think if you just change every time they say summer to nature, I think the book makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
but,
or like mild weather.
Warmth,
Yeah.
sunshine. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I did like that. I did like him coming to the conclusion of like, I'm not supposed to be the fighter. I thought that was cool and different. And yeah, the way he was able to get rid of everybody without like actually defeating them, I thought was cool. I'm glad Gunilla got killed. I don't mean that in a negative. I think that was a good story beat. And it wasn't like too gut wrenching, but it was like sad enough for the first book, you know. And it sort of sets a precedent, I feel like. Yeah. I like the hallmates coming back and helping.
Yeah,
and
that
all
was a nice.
Yeah.
That was a nice
also
turn.
Hearthstone just suddenly is like freaking badass.
Yeah, where did that come from? That was a little odd. I mean, it was like great, but also like what?
Yeah.
How?
Especially if you compare it to the bridge scene.
Yeah.
So
on a related note, actually, I want to touch on. So Magnus has expended too much energy fighting and healing, so he goes unconscious. And in his unconscious state, he meets his dad, Frey. People are unconscious a lot in this book, and there's even a joke like, "We're more unconscious than Jason Grace." Like that's really funny, but also like, man,
is it?
Poor Jason.
Poor Jason.
He wasn't, you know, at his worst yet.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't even allowed to be conscious for the time he was with us.
Yeah. But the point is that, like, energy and overextending oneself is, like, so important in this book. And then, like, we have to drag this, like, Hearth's unconscious body because he did a little too much magic.
It got a little repetitive.
Yeah. It's just like, who's unconscious now?
Even though, like, I understand it, and that's, like, generally a staple of magic. The problem was that here it's usually like, oh, he did like a bunch of crazy things. Here was like, he did one thing, now he's gonna fall over.
Yeah. It's just like before in like Percy Jackson, it's like, oh, people fall asleep and they have dreams of their visions, whereas here it's like, yeah, we might be asleep and having visions, but more likely we are unconscious.
Yeah, or just like sort of dead.
Yeah. So Frey, Magnus doesn't resent his father's absence in his life because he felt his presence when his mom took him hiking through nature.
I thought that was a cool subversion of what we've gotten in the past.
Yeah, it was good. Good. Yeah. Nice. Mild weather.
Mild weather. Yes, exactly. Frey tells Magnus that he's reshaping the destiny of the 9 worlds and bringing hope before Ragnarok. Ragnarok. That's his version.
That's his rock band.
Oh, good one.
Wow.
Is this where you want to talk about Frey not being a fighter?
I was not going to bring it up.
Oh, okay, because we've turned around
I'll just say it real quick that, I mean, early in the book, they make it seem like Frey was a pretty good fighter, and Mimir is like, he was the best general that the Vanir had, and the Aesir respected him so much and stuff. And then now it's like, oh, well, of course Magnus isn't a good fighter because Frey, he's terrible at fighting. And even in the prophecies of Ragnarok, Frey is supposed to kill a bunch of giants and stuff.
Before he dies.
He's
Yeah.
supposed to be very successful in the battle before he dies. So it's a little bit weird. And especially, it continues into the next book, but at least it stays with the weird way they flip-flopped. But it just...
So we just need to let go of what Mimir said about,
Yeah.
like, he's a great general and just, like, accept that he's like, ooh, flowers and hiking in the ponds. Let's sprinkle in the pond.
Is there anything where we could figure it out where, yes, no, he is a really good fighter, but the children of Frey, they're never good fighters. Is that it? Is that maybe
Or
it?
maybe it's supposed to be ever since he gave up Summerbrander.
Yeah,
that he
yeah.
has
So
something.
Ragnarok is after this.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Ragnarok, it's a while
It's
away.
a parallel. No, it isn't. And I think that's the point of this, is it's not a while away.
Actually, that's a good question. Do you think we'll actually see Ragnarok in this series?
Yes.
No. Ooh.
I think there's going to be like a weird version, like pseudo Ragnarok. But
And
like,
they think it's Ragnarok, but it isn't actually
Yeah,
Ragnarok.
like something in the battle gets turned at the last minute and then they avoid the actual like catastrophe of Ragnarok. The point is that I think that we're going to have big battles and like face off. But is Magnus going to be in the battle while it's happening? Probably not.
He's gonna be in a field, singing Kumbaya, mild weather. He's gonna be a mild-mannered reporter.
Okay. Anyway. So when Magnus wakes up, the group explains their story to the Thanes, and X reveals that he has secretly been Odin the whole time.
Did not see that coming.
No, seriously,
No,
did
me
not.
neither. No.
That might
Very
be the
good.
first. That might be the first twist that none of us saw coming.
Yeah.
It was great. Like, I was like, Odin somewhere. I was like, maybe Odin is TJ.
Yeah.
Maybe Odin is one of the Ravens, like something, or just like observing them and is
Yeah.
just going to appear. But the fact that he was like introduced as
Yeah.
a character.
And he likes PowerPoint. He's an
I
interesting
enjoyed
fella.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you did.
Much better than Zeus.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He is not quite like Zeus. Zeus would never pierce his own side and suffer for the sake of
Mhm.
knowledge. What knowledge does Zeus have? How to annoy people? Yeah. Odin rewards the heroes with gifts. He grants Blitz his freedom from Mimir and gives him an endorsement for his clothing shop. He frees Hearth from Mimir and offers to teach him more about rune magic. He makes Sam a Valkyrie again and chooses her to work on missions for him personally.
Yep.
And Odin gives Magnus the choice to go to Folkvanger or go back to the mortal world. But Magnus chooses to stay in Harryar.
I thought the Magnus part of this I thought was a little odd and a little off. Like, I don't end this book being like, well, obviously Valhalla is his home, and I feel like that's what you're supposed to feel. But I'm like, but he spent the whole book with not the Valhalla people. They were just like an afterthought. I don't feel like the book earned that he's home now. I think it earned what he was saying about like, we are each other's home,
Yeah.
but he mostly meant Hearth, Sam, and Blitz. So,
Well,
I don't know,
Sam
just
is
kinda
a
weird.
Sam is a Valkyrie.
yeah, I guess. But he also lives in the
But
normal world, so he could have gone
Yeah.
back to...
But the way that, but her normal world, when she's in like Midgard and
Yeah.
living just as like Samira Alabas
Yeah.
and not Sam the Valkyrie, like when she's doing that, she's like focused on school.
That's
and
not
on her
entirely true, because she does all of her main Valkyrie duties in Midgard.
I guess that's true. But
Yeah.
even so, they're like
Yep.
on behalf of.
Yeah.
of
I'm just
the-
saying, I feel like they wanted me to... It's a very tropic thing to be like, this is my new home. I found a home. And I don't think that this did it
Yeah.
as well as
Yeah,
other
I
things
agree.
have.
I do agree.
He kept on talking about like, oh, like I wouldn't let my floor mates down, and it's like you knew them for 24 hours. I don't know how important they are.
Yeah. And also, it's weird because when you actually look at what happened, Magnus is the only one who gets no reward.
Yeah, you just get to stay here.
You know why? It's because he's kind of like Jason.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, here the thing with Magnus is it's like, yeah, he's so selfless. He's so like caring. He does everything right. Like
Gross.
it's a little
Those people never
disappointing.
are rewarded in Riordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say literally within the first like 2 chapters of the second book, I already like Magnus more. Not to say like they like
He just needs
immediately
to be
fix
more
him, but I like
to be
him
more of a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually also he does have a flaw. He's not a good fighter, and that continues.
Okay.
So that is worth noting.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
So the 7 heroes are given the ability to pass through the 9 worlds freely. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah.
That is a reward for Magnus, but just not a specific Magnus reward.
Sure. But there's only 7 of them who are allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
exclusive.
Oh.
After the funeral for the fallen Valkyries, Magnus meets with Annabeth to scatter the ashes of his late mother.
Cute.
They agree to tell each other everything. Yay.
Good
Aw,
stuff.
Cute.
And now for the best part of the
Epilogue.
entire book, which I kept on scrolling down to as we were talking about other stuff. I'm so excited.
Epilogue. Randolph is at home mourning his family. Loki appears and burns Randolph's face as punishment for not keeping Magnus in line with his plan. He takes a small silver hammer from one of Randolph's display cases and proclaims there are other ways to bring on Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It was so good. And may I say, this you can tell. I feel like he was writing Apollo or whatever, and he's like, let me take a break from today is my writing Apollo day, but I'm just gonna take a short little break and work on Magnus. And he writes this epilogue because this is that like creepy, like Loki is literally caressing Randolph's face. And I was like, is this a ship? And then he burns it. And it's his wife and children like in the balance. And oh my God, what a scene.
The flames of an awful realm. They're trapped in eternal damnation. I don't know.
It's good
this
stuff.
is dark.
And
Really
it also,
good
brings up the hammer again, which is something they brought up earlier in the book, but we also know is the name of the next book. And it's all very. I
even
think
if you
great.
don't know that's going to be the next book, it's still like, well, you know what it's going to be about, and that's an interesting like transition.
Gets you excited. Yeah. All right. So if you want to be part of the podcast in the future when we do Hammer of Thor and such, you can send us feedback. You can send us reviews. You can rate us on Spotify. You can review us on the Apples, all that stuff. Also, if you want to send us feedback at our podcast feedback@gmail.com, we'd love some emails. We'd love some YouTube comments, all that stuff. Also, please tweet at us at Ranking Riordan and follow us there, because when I accidentally don't get a podcast up, that's where I talk about that. All right. Now it is time for the grandest of segments. Let's be frank, it's time to rank. This one's good, but that one stank. Rank, ranking, Rick Riordan.
I tried so hard to keep it in, Dan.
I couldn't
too
this
good.
time. And then Clara had me going.
All right, so we're doing a whole new world of lists. So, best hero, our nominees are Magnus Chase, Samira Al-Abbas, Blitzen, Hearthstone.
Blitzen, son of Freya, actually, because they're matriarchal.
Yeah, and Gunilla.
Gunilla.
All right, so I think we have to put Magnus number 1, right?
We do?
Okay, what do you want to do?
Sam.
Is she more of a hero in this book?
I guess not.
I think
they're
Blitzen you can make
equally.
the argument for.
I think Magnus and Samira are equally heroic, and I think Samira is cooler.
I mean,
Best character.
you're right. So we didn't even mention the fact that like Sam fights Fenris as a lion and all that stuff.
That was cool.
Okay,
Yeah, and
okay.
she's like, it's time for me to fight my brother. Like, it was really cool and badass.
She has to like embrace like this. Her journey is also like embracing her Loki side.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
Yeah.
All right, so Sam number 1. I'm gonna say Blitzen number 2. Magnus number 3.
Why Blitzen number 2?
Because I think he gets more interesting things to do, and he has to like overcome his failings, and he like helps avenge his father's death.
I guess
and-
that's fair. I think
feel
Magnus is a
Magnus.
again.
All
It's
right,
like
fine.
overall.
Yeah. All right, Magnus and then Blitzen,
Yeah.
And then Hearth.
and then Gunilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the rankings thus far, worst to best: Gunilla, Hearthstone, Blitzen, Magnus, Samira Al-Abbas.
Yeah. There's.
Best.
It doesn't really make sense to add like the hallmates there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
All right, best god. We have some interesting things to talk about here. So obvious ones are Odin, Thor, Frey, Freya, Mimir. Now, do we put Loki, Hel, and Ran? Because this is the first time where we have like numerous villainous gods. Like we had the question about what's his
Set.
name? Set. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was like a one-off person.
And Apollo.
Yeah. I mean, I think Loki needs to be in
I was going to say Loki, but none of the others. I just like don't think that they're...
I liked Hel, though.
I like Hel a lot.
I liked her, but she really wasn't like... It was so short.
Yeah.
I like her more than Mimir.
I do, too.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think if we're... With what we have... I think Odin should be number 1.
I was going to say Loki
and
number 1.
I was going to say Loki
I was going to say Loki
2.
number 1, too.
Okay, fine. Loki can be number 1. I was trying to be different.
Well, we don't...
Not with us
here.
Then
I would maybe put Odin and then Thor.
I think they're the top 3, yeah.
Yep, I think so, too. A classic 3-part combo.
And then I would put Freya and then Frey.
Yeah, Freya had more.
Oh, wait, I put Freya and then Mimir and then Frey.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mimir had more going on. Freya's just a nice dude.
Yeah,
I
but
agree.
he has like more legendary stuff going on for him in the backstory of Summerbrander.
I don't care.
Fair enough.
Mimir has casinos.
Yeah.
And then I would put, if we want to put Hel and Ran, I would put Hel.
And then Ran.
I would put Hel between Freya and Mimir.
That's exactly where I would put her as well.
Sure, let's do that. Right. And then Ran at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would even put Ran, but I will because we're not limiting ourselves here.
Yeah.
Right. She'll fall off.
We should do what we used to do. So our actual best hero for this book is Sam. Our best god for this book is Loki. Our best bad for this book is Loki.
Yeah,
you're right. We did used to do this a long time ago.
Forgot. Yes.
Yeah. So do we put Loki as number 1 or do we put Fenris Wolf as number 1? I think there's an argument for Fenris.
I think Fenris. I think Fenris because Loki is like his machinations are happening.
Yeah, but it's very background.
Yeah.
I think Fenris is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
me too.
Terrifying.
All right, cool. I'm glad you guys agree. Then Loki, then I honestly then Utgard Loki, maybe.
I like Surt more as a villain.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is that Utgard Loki is just like, I've got you, and you have to do what I
Surt
say.
Is?
Well, no, Surt is more of a like he kills Gunilla.
I guess, but I just feel like Utgard
and
Loki
kills
at
Magnus
least is
for that matter.
Utgard Loki is more of a like actually like he's a trickster and he like has fun with what he's doing.
But I'm
as
assuming
opposed to
he'll
Surt,
follow
who just
up
feels
later.
Yeah,
like,
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Put your Surt.
This is as high as Surt is ever going to be. He's going to be the one. He's in book 3 and we don't care about him anymore. But he can go here for today.
I don't think that Hel or Rand belong on this list.
I think Hel should be between Surt and Utgard Loki.
Really?
I feel like she's more god than baddie here.
Exactly. Like she's not really.
She's working for Loki.
Right.
Yeah, but it feels more like she's working for Loki in her capacity as like, I don't know why.
Queen of Helheim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So our list is Utgard Loki, Surt Loki, and Fenris Wolf. Fenris Wolf is our number 1. Best real world locale.
I'm shipping up to Boston.
Whoa!
I'm actually wearing a Dropkick Murphys hoodie right now. I was waiting for you to notice that.
Yeah. Wow, that's great.
I'm wearing Dan's old hoodie for recognition. That's not the word I was looking for.
Anyway,
representation. There we go.
No taxation without representation. Okay. So I have a question for you guys. Obviously, we don't have to like definitively make this answer, but right now, would you put Boston over Alaska or New York?
Yes.
Yes, or New York.
Dan, I made you a list of the top 5 best real world locales for this book.
Boston Common, Boston. What about Southie?
That's South Boston. Boston Harbor.
Now the real ranking begins. All right. So, book ranking from lowest to highest, I shall begin. Hidden Oracle, Sea of Monsters, Red Pyramid, Titan's Curse, Lost Hero, Tyrant's Tomb, Son of Neptune, Serpent's Shadow, Blood of Olympus, Lightning Thief, Battle of the Labyrinth, Burning Maze, Throne of Fire, Last Olympian, Tower of Nero, Mark of Athena, Dark Prophecy, House of Hades. And I will start the bidding by saying I think we should move Tower of Nero to number 1.
Thank you. Excellent. Very
Yes.
good. Excellent choice. Bravo. Doing it now.
Yeah, Dana had discussed this offline a bit.
I thought about it as I was editing.
Yeah.
And even if it's not my number one, I think it is
It
the
deserves
number
it.
one.
Deserves it.
I
Yeah.
am very, very glad about this.
Yes.
I've been still thinking about that book. I was reading this and all I was thinking about was Tower of Nero.
It's gonna stay with me for a long time.
Yeah.
All right.
I think one day I'm gonna sit and read, once we're done with all of like Rick's works in the Riordanverse,
Mm.
I'm gonna sit and read them from worst to best.
Oh my
That's
god.
a choice.
Because I don't need
my
to
God.
like
Yeah.
read them in order of publishing or per series. Like
Mhm.
I have the idea. I know, just to see if it
That's
really,
interesting.
if
Olga,
I
I
feel
love
like
this.
it
Gets
is.
better and better and better.
Yeah, like honestly, if I actually feel like it
That's
is a
really funny
deserving.
idea.
Can we do that? Just like no podcast about individual books, just we each do it and then like at some point we podcast about our experience.
21 years from now,
Yeah.
read one book a year.
Make
All
a
right,
time capsule.
So
Anyway.
I'm going to say I think that this book should be between Tyrant's Tomb and Son of Neptune.
I like that.
Really?
Yeah. Looking
Okay.
back on it, this is like it's really tight, good Rick work.
Yeah, I just
That
think
sounded
a lot
really
of
weird.
a lot of really
Anyway.
a lot of really enjoyable set pieces, a lot of good characters, even if they don't get as fleshed out as I want to. I like everybody. I want to see more of them, And I have a sour taste about Tyrant's Tomb looking back at it.
Yeah, they
But-
did Jason too dirty.
Yeah. I'm just really I'm struggling. I'm really struggling with like Titan's
I was looking
curse
at that too.
placement.
You-
Because I don't
yeah.
think I think that this isn't as good as Titan's Curse, but it is better than both Lost Hero and Tyrant's Tomb.
I
I
agree.
think Titan's Curse should move between Tyrant's Tomb and Son of Neptune.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
and then sort of Summer directly below that.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
So I'll read just those ones for people so they can understand what we're saying. So we're saying, I'll just do the first few. So Hidden Oracle, Sea of Monsters, Red Pyramid, Lost Hero, Tyrant's Tomb, Sword of Summer, Titan's Curse, Son of Neptune.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
pretty good about that.
Yeah, that feels
Yeah.
a lot better. I was thinking exactly the same thing, Olga. I was looking over and I was like, now that Tower of Nero is first, it's perfect. Oh, wait.
Yeah. I'm just like Tyrant's Tomb was not our favorite experience and Lost Hero has sort of like soured a little bit over time, which
here's
is
the
so
problem.
weird because I really liked
The
Lost Hero.
The problem is Red Pyramid, Lost Hero, and Tyrant's Tomb are all very good books. And
Yeah.
actually, Red Pyramid and Lost Hero are two of my favorite books. So the fact that they're
Yeah.
that low is like, I definitely like Red Pyramid more than I like Sword of Summer. But I think Sword of Summer is a better book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I feel that too.
And Lost Hero introduces Leo and Piper,
Yeah.
and their stories alone are some of my favorite stuff. But I just don't feel like the book as a whole comes together that well.
Delivers on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I do
Well,
think it has good action, but
it does.
yeah.
And it does have good character work with them.
but they also has Jason
yeah.
without a brain.
But it also has like the giants being like not at their best. But
Yeah.
it has the Wolf House ruin scene.
Yeah. It has Keone,
Are-
it has Juno being
Is
great.
it
Mhm.
worth maybe moving Lost Hero over Tyrant's Tomb?
I don't think it's better.
I don't
Okay.
think it's
All right,
better
fair
because you
enough.
also have to remember like the voiceless god scene,
Yeah.
which is really good, and Apollo singing about Jason, and
I don't
how
know
much
if-
we all love Lavinia.
I'm not
And-
sure if that's better than the things you brought up in the positive column of
Yeah.
Lost Hero, but I'm willing to revisit that at another
Okay.
podcast. So
All right. And with that, we will end this podcast, and we will thank you guys for listening. And we will say Hammer of Thor is coming. I was going to say Hammer of Nero.
No.
You see, it just sticks in your brain. It's so good.
don't give Nero a hammer.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. And send in your feedback, and may the gods be ever in your favor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.